I'm going to talk you through how I built and work with my self-built CLI agent to help me pull quotes from interview transcripts about a specific opportunity. The background is I've worked with a lot of teams, helping them with their ideation process. So helping them with this process of ideating solutions, ideas towards a specific opportunity, problem, pain point, wish, desire. And one of the key mistakes that I've seen teams make is that they very quickly assume that they've understood the opportunity and just jump into ideation. A bunch of solutions come to mind and they just kind of start running. And I'm trying to train teams to take a little step back and think through the opportunity a bit longer, make sure we've really understood what it is. Do we have a shared understanding? Because of course, spending a little bit more time in the opportunity space will allow us to generate way better solution ideas. And it just kind of prevents a big mess later on. So one of the ways I do this is that before any ideation session, I create a little pre-read document that explains the opportunity and ideally also has some real raw customer quotes in there around that opportunity, just to help everybody who participates to build that understanding. So I built a little agent, a CLI agent, to help me do that. This one also runs as a sub-agent, so it can run in a workflow orchestrated by Cloud Code. But I want to show you today how I'm using it as a CLI agent that I just kind of interact with. So I put here this prompt. It's in my Notion. I will also put the link to this Notion in this post so that you can easily find it. This is a prompt that I began with. So I built my agents in Windsurf with Cloud Code as a plugin in Windsurf, and I basically told it this stuff, like what I wanted to do. So it has, you can start it by using a command, then it asks what opportunity do you want to explore. I will tell it that, and then it asks, okay, where should I look for to read your interviews? I will tell it that. Then it asks, where should I put the report? I'll tell it a path. Then it creates this report. Very simple. And then I added this other step that I found quite sexy. That the agent asks me, should I also do a web search? And I'll say yes or no. If I say yes, it will analyze the data it has from the previous steps and say, okay, I think this is your ICP. Then I can correct it and say, no, actually, this is my ICP. Then it will suggest some subreddits where this ICP hangs out. And then it will use a public JSON API for Reddit to crawl these subreddits, and it will generate an additional report. Of course, I put here, please do not hardcode any API keys into the thing. So I kind of started with this prompt, went back and forth quite a bit with Cloud Code and Windsurf, and I built this agent, which I would now like to show you how I run it. So this is Wave, which is basically my terminal. So here we go. Let's run. So which customer opportunity would you like to learn more about? So I want to research. It's exhausting to work with AI tools. Where should we search? So I already looked up the path because I'm always very bad at this. So I used the Wave AI to help me find that. Where should I save the output reports? Let's do it here. Let's delete this one. Okay, yes, let's also do the web search. Off it goes. So now it's going through my interviews to pull out quotes that belong to that specific opportunity. And as said, I've also implemented this as a sub-agent, so it can also work in a flow, so it can also automatically give this output towards my next agent, which will be our next sub-agent, which will be an ideation sub-agent. Okay, deduplicating quotes. I told it to do that. Generating the report. Okay. So it should be there. Now it's taking that output to figure out Okay, here we go. So there's a management summary on top. There's some patterns and themes. And then it has it structured by ICP and then interview name. I'm going through it quite quickly because I don't want you to see all the names. But quite nice. Now at the same time, it is browsing the subreddits. Or it's checking. This can take a bit longer. I can see exactly what it's reading. So I would probably never send this directly because fatigue, right? AI likes to write very long, wordy reports. So I would take this myself and clean it up again in something that is a little bit more digestible for my audience, but it saves me a lot of work. Of course, here I have a folder with 8 interview files, but imagine you have 50 interview transcripts. Then it becomes almost impossible to do this manually. Of course, it's very important that you structure your folders quite nicely and that you make your files easy for AI to interpret. I'm trying to follow a pretty solid structure and to have the same elements available in each interview document so that the AI can work with it. That's a different problem. So he's still reading. I would generally take this online report with a bit of a grain of salt, because of course, whenever you read online comments, you do not know who posted it. I'm personally very bullish on only looking at data that comes from your ICP. I try to be quite narrow with that ICP. So when I interview people, I can ask screener questions to figure out whether they really fit my ICP and ignore everybody else who didn't really fit. When I crawl the web, of course, I cannot do that, right? Just because they are on a hashtag product management subreddit does not mean they are my ICP. Nonetheless, interesting to have a look at. I would always weight the local reports, the report that ran over my local interview files, notes, transcripts, much more heavily. There we go, generating the web findings report. Okay. Let's see if it's here. Yes. There it is, the web sources. Found 23 quotes from 7 subreddits. Credibility. So here we go. Very good. Every AI output is a judgment call. I've actually checked this one. This one's really there. It's done quite good at not hallucinating, but I would always cross-check everything. As always, the work is not done, right? It needs your critical analysis to see, is this real? Does this really match, right? Only you can judge what good looks like. That's why I would always have a human step in the middle to turn all of this into something that you really believe is true, that you would hand over to anyone participating in this ideation round. But it's a really great first crack. I will try to make this agent available so that I can share it directly. But maybe your file structure looks slightly different than mine, so you might need to instruct the agent to be slightly different from mine, or you want to weight things differently. This is why I'm also exposing just this prompt that I started with, so you can maybe start with this and build your own that really fits your specific process. I hope this helps.